Mark Ferringo with Doc Sports, here with Raphael Esparza for our College Hoops Handicapping Extravaganza. This is section 2 of our little Hoops Extravaganza video series for this week. And today we're going to break down some of Wednesday's biggest action. The first game that we're going to look at, Raphael, is Connecticut at West Virginia. Little non-conference action. Connecticut is off to a very, very good start to this season. They're 8-1 to start the year, but heading into Morgantown, where the Mountaineers can always be a lot to handle. What are you looking at in this game?
Yeah, it should be interesting what the final numbers come out on this game. You agreed. West Virginia, I thought maybe it's a little bit of a surprise team coming out. The number is probably going to be around 3, I would think. 3 or 4 totals, probably going to be around, I would say, nothing lower than 135, probably 135, 137.
Who do you have favored in this game?
Oh, West Virginia will be favored easily. They'll be probably.
I think the line is going to open with either at a pick or with Connecticut -1. I think the money is going to move the line towards West Virginia, but I don't think that they'll open laying 3 or 4 points. I think the money might move it that direction. But I think people have a lot of respect for how Connecticut got off to the start of the season. What have you seen from the Huskies or from the Mountaineers that you think gives either one of them the edge in this game?
I know what Mountaineers might be missing McNeil, I think, tomorrow's game, so that might shorten their bench a little bit. But I disagree. I think I would not be shocked if the West Virginians were 2-point favorites. I don't see one. I don't see pick 'em because I just think, again, they'll get hammered with home field money or home court money. I really like the way Connecticut has played defense in the last. I know they beat Grambling, but how they beat them, full court press early, try to get early turnovers and stuff like that. I think that's what's going to need their bread and butter. And I think that's what's going to be their bread and butter all season long is Connecticut's defense. And if they can stifle West Virginia at home, then yeah, they steal this road game. But I'm really impressed on how Connecticut's defense has come out to start the season. I think West Virginia, we all know if West Virginia can't hit the J, it's going to be a very, very, very long evening for the Mountaineers.
You know, you touched on something with Sean McNeil, West Virginia's second leading scorer. He's questionable. One of the things that drives me most insane about college basketball handicapping is compared to all of the other sports, injury information in college basketball is
the worst.
It's a crapshoot. It's the worst. Every other major sport, you have pretty accurate, pretty up-to-date injury information. But in college basketball, you almost have to ignore basically anything short of the hometown newspaper reporting, basically. Anything short of that, you basically have to ignore because you never know who's going to play, who's not. McNeil, again, second leading scorer, one of their better shooters, did not play last game against Radford, and he's questionable for this game. Wouldn't surprise me if he played and he had 18 points. Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play and doesn't play for another 2 weeks. That's just part of the trickery of college basketball betting. But okay, second game we're looking at, we're getting into some conference play, as we mentioned in part 1. And a big game in the Big Ten. We got Indiana at Wisconsin. It's a 7 o'clock game. I have this line opening with Indiana somewhere around a 4-point underdog in the Kohl Center. I can see that number being bet up a little bit, but also the name value of the Indiana Hoosiers should be able to balance out some of that action. What are you looking at with the Hoosiers and the Badgers here, Raphael?
Here's another one, Badgers, just the way they play at home, their style of game at home, solid 3, probably 4-point favorite, I would think, at home. Indiana, a little bit shocked that they lost the game against Syracuse, and I don't know how many overtimes that game was. It 112 to 111 or something that game? I was reading the box score, and my eyes got lazy because I was just trying to figure out who scored and who didn't score in that game. That one kind of disappointed because they were on a nice roll. Really enjoyed watching Indiana handled Marshall pretty easily. I thought they were going to come back and maybe sneak in a big W against Syracuse, but I think that's going to hurt them. I'm probably looking for Wisconsin. If Wisconsin can keep this game in their tempo, I'm talking in the 60s, they have no problem winning this game because you know as well, going into Wisconsin and stealing a road victory in conference play, you pretty much have to throw up 70 points or more if you want to win a road game in Wisconsin. So I'm really curious. Total will probably be 132, 131, something like that. But I could think if Indiana wants to win, they have to put up 70 plus because there's no way they're going to win a game in Wisconsin if they're going to average around 63, 64 points in this game.
I think Wisconsin has been one of the bigger overachievers in the country. You really have to tip your hat to Greg Gard, what he's doing with this. Again, they lost as much talent and experience as any team in the country. There were some chemistry issues with last year's team, but they had a lot of good players that went and walked out the door. This is a young Badgers team. I was expecting some more bumps and bruises as they kind of go through that rebuilding season, but they really haven't. They've won 5 straight. Johnny Davis has been a revelation. They have wins over Houston, really, really good Houston team, really, really good St. Mary's team, and they just blasted Marquette by double digits. It was a 13-point.
Putting up 89 points against Marquette.
And that game wasn't really as close as the final score made it look. Wisconsin really handled that game from start to finish. Wisconsin's going to get the love from the refs. They always do. They're they're the Midwestern Duke when it comes to getting calls from the referees. So that, along with the home crowd, is going to make that a really tough venue for Indiana to go in and get a win. All right, we're dipping back into the non-conference here, and this one might not be front and center on a lot of people's minds, but this is a really good game going out on the West Coast. Utah State at BYU. All right, let's get those wacky Mormons involved, Raphael. What are we looking at with the Aggies and the Cougs?
How did they lose to Utah Valley State, BYU, the other day when they waxed Oregon, where they easily took care of Utah? I'm talking Pac-12 Utah, not Utah Valley State. It just blows me away. And that's what happens when you're a 3-point team and you can't hit nothing. Anybody can beat anybody, and BYU just hit nothing in that game. This was going to be interesting because the Aggies will want to control the tempo. They could put up some points easily, but I watched that game against St. Mary's when the Aggies lost, I think by 2 points, something like that. Mm-hmm. If you can stifle them and make them play a half-court offense, I think anybody can beat the Aggies, and I'm talking anybody in the Mountain West. If you're BYU, you almost have to slow this game down. Because if you slow this game down, I think you easily take control of this game. Because I think if it's a fast-paced game, I think Utah State can hang around in this game. But I'm still blown away on how good I saw BYU whoop up on Oregon last month and then lay a complete egg to Utah Valley State. If anyone's watching this show, tell me what the Utah Valley State mascot is. Put it on and type it down in the comments. You probably have to Google it. Hey, cheating! You just cheated.
I can't think of the kid's name. The center that they have there, who was the conference player of the year last year. He had 24 points, 22 rebounds. It's driving me nuts that I can't remember his name because I think he was the leading rebounder in the country last year. He was a stud at BYU. You really didn't have any answers for him. These are 2 teams that I'm surprised at how well both of them are playing, to be completely honest with you. Utah State didn't bring a lot back from last year's team. But they have found good guard play somehow. Rylan Jones, the transfer from Utah, and RJ Edelrock, I believe, from Maryland, Baltimore County. They've really stabilized the backcourt for Utah State and allowed guys like Justin Bean and Brock Miller to just continue to do what they do. BYU, I think, is a little bit overrated. I got to ask you, is BYU a top 20 or top 25 team in your estimation right now? Do you think they're one of the 25 best teams in the country?
When I saw them manhandled Oregon, yes. When I saw them play against Utah Valley State. I know, but I'm just saying.
Just lost to Arizona State, too. Oregon's bad.
But going to a Pac-12, beating a Pac-12 team handily by halftime. I'm not talking just a game beating them by halftime. I was really impressed on how they handled themselves and just kept the pedal to the metal in that game. But how they played against Utah Valley State, I would say top 30. I would probably put them anywhere between 25 to 30. It's going to be interesting. If I can get this line anywhere between 8 or higher, I'm taking the Aggies. This probably is going to become out a 6-point favorite.
That right there is exactly where I was going next. I have this line with BYU -9. That's where I believe this line will come out. You're saying you feel it will be bet down. Do you feel like that's a good range? Before you answer, also consider this. BYU has won 9 straight in this series, and they are on an 8-0 against the spread run against Utah State. They have covered the spread in this rivalry series 8 straight times. This is also Utah State's first true road game. BYU has been playing on the road. They played at Utah, got that win, played a very good Missouri State team, got that win. They are now coming back home for the first time in the first few weeks and playing against a Utah State team that has not experienced playing a true road game yet. So all of that said, do you feel like 9 is too high?
Yes, because I'm not the biggest believer of true road game when you're playing on neutral site courts. Well, that is, let's face it, that's a road game. You're not at home. It's a road game, and they played Oklahoma. They played Richmond already. So it's not like they played cupcakes like San Francisco State or Weber State, or no disrespect to the Wildcats of Weber State, but I'm just saying they played tough teams already and got the win against Oklahoma. They're covering games as well, so I'm just nine's just too high. You would just get one-sided action. It'll get bet down. 6-7, I think this number will come out.
Okay, the final game that we were going to talk about, or the fourth game, I guess I should say, we might be able to get in that Michigan State-Minnesota game. Dayton at SMU. Again, this one isn't moving the meter nationally, but these are two really interesting teams for me. Anthony Grant taking over at Dayton. They tore through their holiday tournament in Florida, beating Miami, Kansas, and Belmont. Okay? They haven't slowed down. Since that tournament, winning those 3 games in those 3 days, they've won 2 straight games by 40+, and they're on a 5-0 against the spread run. Now, this team that beat Kansas and has run up these 40-point wins also lost earlier in the year at home to UMass Lowell, Lipscomb, and Austin Peay at home. So what do we make of the Dayton Flyers right now, Raphael?
I like them in this matchup because I'm not sold on SMU. If you want to look at them, they still haven't played a true road game. If you want to look at it that way, they lost to LMU, and I'm not talking to Hank Gather's Bo Kimble LMU. They lost to LMU, and LMU put up high 70s against them. So I'm not sold on SMU. Ooh, they beat up UNLV. Me and you can find 3 other guys who probably go to Vegas and put a big game against UNLV Rebels as of late. So I'm just not sold on SMU. I like Dayton. I think they rebound from those struggles you said early in the season. Again, they shortened their bench since those games. I mean, when they saw them beat against NIU, Belmont, and Kansas, I think they were only playing 8 guys. Maybe a 9th guy came in the first half. I think they had some foul trouble, especially in the last game against Northern Illinois, so they had some foul trouble in that one. But they shortened their bench. I think that's why they're beating the games that they're supposed to beat. I was really impressed on how they handled Kansas, just the whole game itself. I mean, they had no nerves coming out. I mean, normally when you play these Kansas, North Carolina Dukes, when you're not, I don't want to say Dayton's a small school, but they're not those type of college basketball schools. You're gonna have some nerves. And Dayton's a young team. You're gonna have some nerves, and they didn't show anything nerves with Kansas from the tip all the way till they won. So I'm impressed with them. I'm looking to play against SMU. Not a big fan of SMU.
I will agree with you 100% that they've been a little bit of a disappointment. I had a little higher expectations for this SMU team. I think Tim Jankovic has a good, experienced team. Of course, they're working in transfers like Tristan Clark and Zach Nuttall, but these are kind of high-impact transfers. I think they will figure it out because I think that Kendrick Davis is one of the better point guards in the country, and I think that that's going to be an important factor here against this Dayton press. But I absolutely disagree with you that playing a neutral site game early in the season is the same as playing a true road game. It's not true. Dayton, 8 of their top 10 players, okay, in terms of minutes played, are freshmen. This is a young team going on the road for the first time, maybe in a game that maybe they're not that excited for. It might be a little tougher for them to get up for a road game at SMU than it will be a neutral site game against Miami and Kansas and those things. We're also entering finals week for a lot of these schools, okay? Like, these are still students. People forget about that student part of the student athlete. I know, you don't want to dive down that rabbit hole, but it's a factor. Over these next couple of weeks, these kids they got to pass if they want to play next semester. So there's a little bit more pressure on some of these players and some of these teams that could impact the team. You might see Dayton's eyes wander a little bit here on the road. I think they're going to get tripped up in that one. And then the last game that I want to talk about, we got Michigan State going to Minnesota. By the way, I have that SMU line. I think Dayton will be a 4-point underdog in the open. This Michigan State-Minnesota game, I have Michigan State as a 5-point road favorite at Minnesota. Fair or not fair, Raphael?
I can see that. Michigan State, no more higher than 6. I think if it's anything higher than 6, they'll get bombarded of one-way action quickly. So I would not be shocked if it's around that 5-6 area. It should be a very interesting game. I just have this one just smells maybe a road blowout early. That's why I wouldn't mind if I was going to take the 6 or higher. Total's probably going to be like around 132, 131, as I call it, a Big Ten total. So it's probably going to be no value for the total. I mean, I'm excited to watch this. Here's one. Not only am I going to watch this game just because it's a game on for Big Ten, but for future references for Big Ten action. I really want to see how Michigan State plays on the road against a team that can probably steal this home game if they can hit the J. Wilwell, play defense, and get rebounds. That's how you beat Michigan State. You need to out-rebound them quickly because if you can control the boards, you can beat the Spartans.
Yeah, I think that was kind of my intrigue in this game is, do you trust, from what you've seen from Michigan State early in the season, do you trust them on the road? Do you trust them
No.
to go on the road and cover as a healthy 5 or 6 point road favorite?
No, that's why I'm going to sit back and probably just watch this game, because this one's going to tell me a lot on how they're going to play on conference games on the road, like teams against Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio State. This is going to be to dictate how I'm going to look at those games.
Yeah, I got to say, Minnesota's coach, Ben Johnson, is doing one of the best jobs in the country. You want to talk about surprise teams. When little Dickie Pitino left the Golden Gophers, he pretty much left that program in shambles. Like, there is no talent on that team. They're 7-0. Okay, I know they played a weak schedule. I understand that. But this past weekend, they went on the road as an 11-point underdog and beat Mississippi State. That's a pretty good, pretty tough, pretty physical, typical Ben Howland Mississippi State team. And they didn't just hang around on the road in that road test against an SEC opponent. Kind of put it on them. Again, they beat the spread by over 16 points and won that game outright. That Mississippi State team plays a similar style and is comprised similarly to what they're going to see from Michigan State. Minnesota won this game last year. They absolutely hammered Michigan State 81-56 last year. So Spartans do have a little bit of a revenge angle to play. But the favorite is 7-1 against the spread in this series, and Michigan State is 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 against the Golden Gophers. So, all right,
Raphael, you know what that total was?
What's that?
You know what that total was with Mississippi State, Minnesota? The total was 127. 81-76, and the total was 127.
Early season hoops, baby. See, there's value out there, man. Gotta find it. So, all right, we've had these people listen to us through 2 of these videos. We can't let you get out of here without giving them something for free. How about a free play?
Well, it's a free play, but I kind of already mentioned it before. I'm going to take CS Fulton Titans, San Diego State under the total on this game. You always want to bet San Diego State totals. It's probably going to be, I'm probably guessing about 131, 130. And I told myself the odds makers hate to put up 120s against any team, especially West Coast teams, because the reason why you see not that many low totals on 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time games, because the public's always going to bet the over. So you always want to entice them with a different kind of number than this game was played at 7 o'clock. Probably going to be about 130, 131. Bet it all the way until it goes down to 129 if you can get that number. But this one goes under because, again, it's San Diego State. They're at home. Come on.
I literally have no idea how you can do college basketball totals. I don't have the mental bandwidth. Like, there's 362 college basketball teams, and it's hard enough for me to just juggle the numbers on the sides. The fact that you can do totals and do them as well as you have is absolutely amazing to me. All right, for my free play, I like Kansas State -5 over Marquette. I feel like the public is going to be on Marquette because they've had some success earlier in the season, but this game means a lot more to Kansas State. Bruce Weber is coaching for his job this season, and I love that level of desperation. This is a home non-conference marquee game for them. They need to win it. This is also a terrible spot for Marquette. Last Saturday, they went on the road, played their big rivalry game against Wisconsin, got run out of the gym. And then this coming Saturday, they have their biggest home game of the non-conference. They're hosting UCLA on Saturday. So you have rivalry game against Wisconsin last Saturday, big home game against UCLA this coming Saturday. Smack in the middle, you get, guess what, a trip to Manhattan, Kansas. I think that Kansas State's going to have a little bit more energy and play with a little bit more desperation in this game. I think that they're going to handle Marquette. So that's it. That's our Hoops Handicapping Extravaganza. Be sure to check back next week as we will have a couple more college basketball videos. He is Raphael Esparza. I am Robert Ferringo. We are Doc Sports. Carpe diem. Good luck.